Coming up on Wrestling Life.
CRPS, especially in America, is nicknamed the disease. And it's killing people daily because of the pain we're in. But the disgusting part is I went almost 7 years undiagnosed.
Welcome to Wrestling Life with Ben Veal, the show that features real talk from real talent.
Hello and welcome, my friends, to Wrestling Life with Ben Veal, the show that's all about sharing real talk from real talent. And when it comes to being real, my guest today has a story that's as real as it gets. Joining me in the studio is a wrestling talent who is the very epitome of heart and resilience. Some of you may already be familiar with her journey through the Wrestling with CRPS content that she's been sharing via her social media channels. But if this is your first time meeting my guest today, then prepare to be inspired. Trained by Bobby Blaze, Funaki and WWE Hall of Famer Rikishi, my guest has faced some huge personal challenges. But she is bouncing back stronger and refuses to go down for the 3 count without a fight. She's the Black Dahlia, the Chainsaw Queen. She is wrestling life in style. She is Paige Collett. Paige, welcome to the show. How are you, my friend? And how was that introduction?
Hi. Oh, it was really good. It was phenomenal. And it was totally not ruined the first take by me. And this is totally not the second take because I had to be quiet.
Absolutely. No, I love that. I love that. Everyone's get a little window into the chaos that is our lives. But yeah, that's all good.
Yep, behind the scenes, guys. It's pretty embarrassing being me.
Likewise.
I'm like, wow, this guy is very good. Like his accent can put me to sleep in a good way.
Well, that's what I think is that a compliment? I don't know.
That is such a compliment because as soon as the words were leaving my mouth, oh, this guy could totally put me to sleep. I was like, wait, that could sound like a negative. But all these celebrities are getting paid for for their voices to read books and audio or whatever, and people actually listen to the celebrities as they fall asleep. So yeah, that's a compliment.
Hey, anyone that wants to pay me to do voiceovers, I'm here and I'm available. So
where are you from? What is that accent?
I'm from the UK. So southeast of the UK.
Southeast of the UK. Okay, so I'm gonna mark out for a second for your accent as an American. And so basically, I grew up. I'm a '90s baby, so I grew up in the early 2000s and stuff. But as a child, the Princess Diana stuff was in the news a lot, and in the late '90s. And even though I was very, very young, it's just hearing a memory of the broadcast. Everyone had your accent basically, and you sounded like one of them, and that's why I was marking out before. And I was like, Princess Diana, who? What? Me?
Yeah, we're not related. I'm sorry, I'm not in the royal family.
What?
We're not related. I'm not in the royal family. I'm sorry to disappoint you.
Oh, sucks. Yeah, but it definitely sounded like you just have such a good radio voice. You know what I mean? You literally, this is your shtick. Your voice, you need to make a proper living out of this.
Face for radio. That's what I've been told.
That's what, dude, you need to. Well, oh no. People that are saying that, listen, your voice though, you make a living out of it.
Well, that's very kind. But look, it's not about me. It's about you, Paige. And this is your story. It might be called Wrestling Life with Ben Veal, but it's always about my guests. And, where I want to start is, this obvious starting point of CRPS. Now, this stands for, and I had to look this up, Complex Regional Pain Syndrome. And here in the NHS in the UK, their description of that is a poorly understood condition, which seems to be quite similar to the US, because I'm not sure there's that much clarity around CRPS and what it is. So, you've been through this, you're wrestling with it. What exactly is CRPS and how has it affected your life and your wrestling career so far?
Right. I love that we're starting off with this. Thank you for asking, and thank you for letting me be on a platform and be able to bring awareness to my condition. You did your research, and it's correct. It's the craziest disease and you've probably never heard of it before. And it's wrong that people have never heard of it. It's complex regional pain syndrome is the most painful disease known to mankind. And when you bring up the medical charts and pain charts, doctors put this as the most painful pain, as opposed to like on that chart, you have like kidney stones, cancer, amputation, childbirth. You have all the pains that doctors see through their patients, and CRPS is the most cruel out of all of them. And
Wow.
and for this disease to not be known is insane. And I hope to change that. And I hope like sooner than this, but I hope within the next 10, 15 years, everyone knows of the big C. Everyone knows of cancer. So hopefully within the next, sooner than later, everyone knows and clutches their pearls when they hear of CRPS.
Yeah, absolutely. So when did your journey with CRPS begin then? When were you diagnosed and what were the symptoms?
Right. So unfortunately, my story is more tragic than just getting the sickness.
Okay.
So basically, getting this disease is bad, but sorry, I don't know if you can hear that. My family's installing something.
Yeah, it's all
so sorry, this is so serious. My parents are putting in a washer and dryer.
No, I love it. It's amazing.
It's real. It's real life, guys.
They can come over the pond and do all of my housework afterwards. That's fine.
I'm thankful. I'm blessed right now. It's really cool. So basically, it was a wrestling accident that activated this disease. And this disease, what happens is it could happen from an injury or a surgery. And it's a neurological condition. And basically, it's activated from trauma, and it could be in any of your limbs. And mine happened to be in both my feet because my wrestling injury was torn ligaments. I tore the ligaments in both of my feet. And basically, once I tore my ligaments, it activated CRPS. But the thing is, normally when you get CRPS, you get diagnosed and they offer you treatments. And some people are unfortunate to not be diagnosed and they get treated for other things. I wasn't fortunate enough to get diagnosed. I went through 15 different doctors. I went from a family doctor to a foot specialist to a sports medicine doctor to a sports medicine foot specialist to a chiropractor I went to doctors that were only seeing NFL patients. You know what I mean? Like I went to actual NFL doctors. By the time that I got diagnosed, we were looking at 6.5 years.
Wow.
And I had 4 different surgeries on both my feet, which, to be fair, my doctors that did these surgeries were looking at the wrong thing and they were trying to help me. But really, by performing these surgeries on my feet, it actually spread the disease up my legs and made me even sicker. So I now have CRPS from my knees down instead of just in my feet. But CRPS, especially in America, is nicknamed the disease. And it's killing people daily because of the pain we're in. But the disgusting part is I went almost 7 years undiagnosed. I was, not to sound impolitically correct, but I was like raw dogging this without pain pills, without any assistance. Like I said, there's other people that go undiagnosed, but they're getting pumped medicine and getting diagnosed with other sicknesses. The medical field failed me, and it's not my doctor's fault for not knowing. So I can't blame them, which I would love later on in the podcast to discuss it. But I'm actually, with my YouTube series, I'm actually going and seeing all these doctors that misdiagnosed me. And I'm going back and telling them about CRPS and telling them that it's not their fault. and hopefully they can help other people.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing that you've got the, the strength of character to do that, because I think a lot of people in this situation, there'll be a lot of blame and a lot of looking backwards, and, you're recognizing what this is, but actually, no one's to blame here. This is kind of chronic pain that people don't really understand, but they need to understand. And
Right. You can't just like draw my blood and, oh, that's what she has. You have to be diagnosed with CRPS, you have to go down the rabbit hole of it has to be, it's not that. You have to make sure it couldn't be anything and everything, and then it's that. So, and unfortunately, I've been carrying the symptoms, and I'm the exact poster child for CRPS with all the symptoms, and still I was misdiagnosed. And it's a wonder that, no shame, and I need to find better wording for it, but there are people that are suffering with CRPS, medicated, and still not surviving. I'm even to this day, now that I've been diagnosed, I still haven't touched pain pills. And It's not the fact that I'm so brave or like I didn't know any better, but now that I've been diagnosed, why should I go down the rabbit hole of pain pills? And then, like, for goodness sakes, in America, the ketamine infusions or whatever they're called, they're $500 a week just to be hooked up to an IV and have liquid opioids injected in me, but to keep me alive. And I choose not to do that.
Well, I mean, that's awesome. If you've got the power to do that, personal strength to do that, then I know you've come this far, haven't you, on this journey as well? Why would you go down that road now?
I want to prove to other people in chronic pain that it is doable. Like, you don't have to do the pain pills or the liquid opioids. You don't have to. I choose to do medical marijuana. Actually, I choose to do a more holistic route.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I had the Godfather on the show very recently, and he was talking about how taking, smoking marijuana from his late 20s eradicated the need for all of his pain pills that he had in his early days with WWF. That ever since he has remained medicated, but he hasn't needed such a pain pill. So, it's a movement which I think is making some strides in the US. We're a little bit further behind when it comes to recognizing marijuana as a kind of legal.
Oh, is it not legal over there?
No, but I think we're getting there. I think more and more, we've got CBD, we've got kind of CBD oils. I think people are recognizing more the medicinal benefits of it, but we're not quite there culturally. Where were you? You mentioned that you were wrestling when you first. So right. Was it an injury? Was it a particular move? Did something happen, or was it kind of just the wear down of your body?
Right. So the whole setup was. Wait a second. I'll take medicine. I'm in chronic pain, guys. I take medicine. Okay, so the whole setup was actually. So you guys get the idea of CRPS now. It's constant pain, and I went so long undiagnosed. It was so unfair. But what happened was, as if this was a crazy enough story of survival, and how did I survive? How did I battle this disease without medicine? And I didn't even have marijuana. I didn't have anything this whole time. Well, what originally happened was the torn ligaments. And what happened was kind of like what you just said, the breakdown of my body. So as if this is a crazy story enough, my story before the wheelchair was even more insane. I ended up training under Funaki for a year, but then I also trained under Rikishi for just under a year. And my time at Rikishi's was in LA. It was sleeping out of my vehicle, and I don't know if like I'm a nobody, so I'm sure a lot of people are not familiar with my story, but I did it the old-fashioned way. I was like, I want to be a professional wrestler. I want to do this the right way. I don't want to be a mark in tights. I don't want to be this person that's just out there on the indies getting all these bad indie habits. I want to be the wrestler. So training under Funaki made sense, and in San Antonio, Texas, and then training under Rikishi in LA made sense. So, but to train under these legends is very expensive. And I didn't have any money. I didn't have like any proper support. So I had to sleep out of my vehicle, and my shoot job was actually a night shift. Like I would go back and forth from like being one of the only girls unloading semi trucks to like, it was a physical manual labor job where I would pull pallets with pallet jacks and then unload the boxes and freight and stuff. So I would do that like a 10-hour night shift. And then I would get in LA traffic, drive to Planet Fitness. That was 24 hours. And I would go work out. Then I would shower at Planet Fitness, you know, brush my teeth. And then I would be in my PJs and run out back to my vehicle. And I was so poor. My air conditioning would not work in my vehicle. And also I couldn't even afford gas to keep it running anyway. So I would literally be in the middle of Los Angeles in this Planet Fitness. It's outside of the Burbank airport. It's hot as F, you know, there you go. Sorry, producers. I'm watching you, producers. I got you, producers.
We're trying to keep it PG-13. It's great.
So anyway, there I am in the middle of LA thinking I'm going to die, you know, every day, get like, you know, and so I crack the windows. I have this like battery operated fan that's blowing hot air on me. And I try to sleep in the vehicle for like a couple hours, getting like heat stroke and sun poisoning. And then you would have thought I was an advocate for Planet Fitness, because just so I wouldn't get towed, I would plaster my vehicle with Planet Fitness stickers saying I belong here, you know, so like I would be a little protected, like, you know. Yeah. But anyway, because out in LA they're trying to tow you every 5 seconds. But anyway, so then I would not sleep, not eat, and then I'd get up and then go to wrestling class. And then with wrestling school, they would have a list of all the chores you would have to do in class, like bleach out the mats, scrub the toilets, you know, mop the floors. And I would get antsy, you know, just sitting there waiting for all the students to come up, because you were just supposed to pick a chore and go and do it. And each student was supposed to do something. It got to a point where I would just do all the chores, because I was just like, let's wrestle. Come on. Yeah. You know? So I would like low key, I would do all the chores in school, scrub the toilets, you know, mop the floors, scrub the floors, you know, I'd be on my hands and knees, like getting all that stuff done. And then all the students would start coming in. It's like, let's go guys, let's wrestle. And then I'd wrestle for like 3 hours with them. And then it'd be like 9 p.m. I'd have to get in my vehicle, get back in LA traffic, and go back to work and work another 10-hour night shift and do it all over again. And I did that. I paid my dues. There were times I would go like 3 days without food because I had to pay for wrestling school. And I don't know how I did it, but I filmed a lot of it. I documented a lot of it because I was like, no one's ever going to believe this story. Yeah. And then I got put in a wheelchair. I tore my ligaments when I went over the ropes, and Rikishi was there. He witnessed it. The whole class witnessed it, and it was just a freak accident. You know, wrestlers get hurt, you know, it's a physical sport, and you just wouldn't expect to get hurt and not to get better. And that's what happened. I sacrificed my life. I sacrificed my 20s. You know, I paid my dues. I did everything you're supposed to do the correct way to be a professional wrestler, just to get sick and not be able to wrestle. And it's so cruel that it has to be the world's most painful pain known to mankind. It's like, you can't write this.
Yeah. That's a incredible story of paying your dues in the very kind of old school way that you don't hear enough now. Very, very Mick Foley, it sounds, in its kind of origins. But Yeah,
Oh,
really
do you want
hard.
to hear a story? You know what? Your producer's gonna hate this, but here's the screen grab. Here's the one you guys have been waiting for. Ready? Get ready, producers. All right. So there I was training at Rikishi in the middle of LA, thinking I'm gonna like get kidnapped or sold into Illuminati sex trade or something. Like I swear it almost happened. This, you know what? That's another story. Anyway, so there I was. I couldn't sleep, and then I think like one of the people that came from Nox Pro out there was Rusev, and the one that married Lana or whatever, like that Mara. I don't know his shoot name, but so he was there coming to class, to check in on everyone. And I dead ass had like sun poisoning and scene change like a freaking movie. I'm like squatting in the middle of the vehicle like this, and I'm like straddling a McDonald's styrofoam cup, and I'm like shitting in it, like in the middle of in my vehicle, in the middle of the parking lot. I'm just like shitting in a cup because there's no access to a toilet, and I'm like, I can't go to class today, guys. I just almost shit myself. And it happens so many times. Like people don't understand, when you're homeless and you have no access to a toilet, you make a toilet. And also, wet wipes are your friend.
You're a wrestling life, my friend. I tell you, that is that's a rabbit hole I didn't expect we were going to go down today in your story.
No, so people, I paid my dues.
This lady paid her dues. There's a book in your story, I think, one day, Paige, I tell you. So look, I want to ask about you. You mentioned was three gentlemen because you trained. Am I right in saying you first broke into business under Bobby Blaze? Is that right?
Correct, and I'm glad you brought him up. Yeah. So Bobby's a legend, and it's so beautiful because there's a lot of full circle moments in this. And I don't know, like I'm going from cussing and joking about my bowel movements to now I'm going to talk about God. Shoot, I'm an oxymoron. I see a lot of angel signs. I see a lot of full circle moments, and you are correct. Bobby Blaze, he's one of my angels, and when I broke into the business before that crazy LA story, which is similar to the year prior with the Funaki story, but before that year before Funaki was actually Bobby Blaze. And when Bobby met me, he's known me since I was 18. I was just a kid when I ran into him in the Appalachian Mountains. There's a funny story, and he doesn't like when I say it, but I'm going to freaking say it, and we can screen grab it, and he's going to kill me. But so there I am, like an 18-year-old kid, and I'm just a valet, right? And I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know anything about wrestling. When I was presented with this job opportunity, when they offered the position and they said valet, I thought they were talking about people parking cars. Like, that's how ignorant I was getting involved with the business. And so there I am, for no reason whatsoever, signing autographs during intermission like one does. And this gentleman approaches me, and he has a thick Southern accent. We're in the Appalachian Mountains, and it's loud, and I really am not trying to defend myself, but I swear I did not hear him. And I so cringe. I said something like, "Oh, did you want to get a photo with me?"
Oh no.
And it embarrassed him, obviously. And he's like, "Oh no, I think you would want to get a photo of me or something." And then he like tipped his hat and then walked away. And Nathaniel, you son of a gun, my best friend, was right there. And he's like, "Oh, that was Bobby Blaze." And I was like, so presumptuous. Like, I didn't know who he was. And I'm just like this kid that doesn't know anything about the business. And that's how I met Bobby Blaze. And for about like 4 years there, I traveled on the indies, and I really did get abused. I really, where I was so green, they would have me show up like 5 hours before the show, setting up, and then after the show, tearing down. and I'd be there like late hours of the day. It was like I really got abused at. I didn't, the meme of, oh wait, we're getting paid for this.
Yeah, yeah.
Me, I'm like a little 18-year-old kid running around, and I'm like, wait, we're getting paid? Like, I never got paid as a valet, and I always helped set up, tear down, advertise. I sacrificed my body. I wasn't properly trained at the time, and I took bumps in the ring for wrestlers. Like, it was abuse. So then Bobby Blaze steps in, and he's like, listen, kid, you're beautiful. You have the it factor. I see you actually making a career out of this. Become the wrestler. And Bobby Blaze had me meet up with him, and it was like a movie. Like I said, this whole freaking thing is an insane movie. And I actually just got the footage. There's old footage, because this happened like 10 years ago, of what I'm about to tell you, but I have it right now, and it's going to be a part of the YouTube series. But there's footage of Bobby Blaze and I locking up for the first time outside in this wrestling ring that was randomly makeshift and built up in someone's yard. And Bobby freaking Blaze was the first person to properly lock up with me. And next thing you know, it started raining, and it's like the heavens poured down, and it's like Bobby's like, go and do this, kid. And I got that on footage. And I have it now. Once again, it went missing for like 10 years, and now all of a sudden it's manifested back in my life. I have it. And it's so funny because then I went to Funaki's, Rikishi's, got sick, but Bobby was always there. Like when I was homeless in LA, Bobby was the one calling me. When I was in the wheelchair battling this disgusting disease, undiagnosed, I was battling this disease, and Bobby Blaze was the one calling me to make sure I stayed alive. So now that I understand what I have, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to let that be it. I didn't have that insane story as a valet getting abused. I didn't have that insane story with Funaki and Rikishi. And then I didn't survive CRPS just to be like, okay, that's it. I survived this to be a wrestler. And I am a professional wrestler. And now that I'm getting the blessings from my doctors, and it's like being stuck in mud, it's slow and steady. But now that I am getting back in the gym and getting back in the wrestling ring, Bobby Blaze is there for me right now. And there's footage of us locking up in the wrestling ring. And it's just like so freaking Hallmark, stupid, beautiful Make-A-Wish moment, and we love it because it's cringe and it's so full circle, and it's awesome.
And I love it because I'm a really big believer in people come into your life when they're supposed to come into your life, and they point you in directions. I'm very big when it comes to kind of fate and kind of intersecting moments. And I think what you described there is someone who maybe if you didn't have Bobby in your life, you wouldn't have gone down this road, because you needed someone to give you that confidence beyond yourself.
Right.
You talked about, obviously, Funaki and then Rikishi. I mean, both WWE legends in their own right, but very, very different competitors.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
What did you learn from Funaki, and then what did you learn from Rikishi? And how did those two different styles help you to become the wrestler you were becoming before this disease? Or disease, illness, what's the right term for CRPS?
You can use either or. Yeah. I'm very politically correct with myself, so you don't offend me in any way, but you can call it a sickness, illness, condition, crippled dumb bitch. Like, I don't care. You know what I mean?
I go down that road. But yeah, so Funaki and Rikishi, very different people. But what did you learn from from two of them?
Right. So Funaki, so after leaving, getting blessed and this is like such a, I'm such a nerd, and I always compare my story to like Lord of the Rings, like the mission, and Bobby, sent me off on my quest, and I'm like, I'll make you proud, and then there we are off on my quest with, and then of course I have my best friend Nathaniel with me throughout this whole journey. He was there throughout it all, and he really has saved me as well. So shout out to him. But when Bobby sent us out on our quest and I landed in San Antonio, right now Funaki is with the hybrid school, but at the time in 2015 and 16, he had his own setup, his own ring, and it was at like a Spartan gym. And once again, movie moment. Here I am, this theater nerd, this loser that's just like, don't know where I'm at. And I'm in this hot desert. It's summertime, or no, it's fall time. And it's still freaking hot as heck out in San Antonio. But they have it set up to where it's like an open Spartan gym with a wrestling ring and a garage door. And so it was just like the hot heat coming through that makes you want to throw up. And then there is Funaki standing in like a Performance Center t-shirt or an NXT t-shirt. And it's 2015. And it's like, holy, this is a big deal. And even today, that's a big deal because he would be back and forth from if he wasn't with us, he was down in WWE working. And it's just like, so the way that he approached it was, of course, Japanese style is very stiff and very assertive. So I always say that he's responsible for my stiff lockup, like crisp, like nice, like I'll never forget, like always like because I've never, besides with a little bit of Bobby, I've never locked up before. So here I am like bopping everyone's ears and they're like, no, it's sharp, it's good, like it's fucking like get in there, and I'm just like, all right. And like all the students were really welcoming and really good to me. And I have footage of me rolling around there and getting instructed by him. But it was really hot and very, very surreal being so young and then being thrusted to be trained under him. And I liked it. He was very professional. I loved every second of it. And then it just so happens that consistent throughout the year, that following WrestleMania was in Dallas, and all of us kids in San Antonio drove up and to work the different indie shows, around WrestleMania, like as one would do. And it just so happens Nathaniel and I were on a show that Rikishi was running, and that was kind of like a makeshift audition for us. And that's when I actually met Rikishi. He was sitting. The whole setup was you have the WrestleMania Dome right there in Dallas with all the posters, and there's the parking lot and the strip of drive, and then this little shed of a building that you could probably have like proms or parties there or whatever. But there was a wrestling show right there, and that was Rikishi's show. And so sitting outside looking up at the banners was this big Samoan, and I'm like, never met him before, and I'm 5'2", so when I approached him, I was just like, oh man, I'm little. But then he was a sweetheart. But I always like training under him. I know he likes the business side, and he really educated us a lot on character. But I remember him pulling me to the side and teaching me how to attack the mat. So I know it's so cliche, but Funaki's the lockup and Rikishi's the bump. And Samoan bump drills suck. but Rikishi pulled me aside and really taught me how to attack the mat, and I will always carry that with me.
Well, I mean, of course, Rikishi's kind of fingerprints are now all over the WWE product, aren't they? I mean, it's a patriarch of, half the bloodline with Jimmy and Jay and Solo Sikoa. There's no getting away from Rikishi's influence in wrestling today. But I think really overlooked actually what an incredible career he had himself, and what a tenure and so many different characters, and a really versatile performer in his own right.
That was the main thing out there, was promo, was character. He threw different character ideas at me when I was out there. And one of the things that I threw back at him was the Chainsaw Queen. And he's like, okay. And that was 2016. That was technically 2016. So I became the first Chainsaw Queen of professional wrestling, and it was awesome.
So doing my research, you're a big horror fan, aren't you? You're a big old school 90s slasher horror fan. So is that what inspires for Chainsaw Queen?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, like so with the whole Black Dahlia stick, there was like I think like an indie wrestler over in England that did the Black Dahlia for a second, but I technically am the first ever Black Dahlia of professional wrestling, and I created her back in 2011. And then in 2016, out at Rikishi's, I created the first ever Chainsaw Queen, because now there's one of my girlfriends, there's another Chainsaw Queen out there, and she is amazing and I love her, and we're going to tag one day. But yeah, seeing other girls with chainsaws, I love it. But being the first, so cool. I love that bragging right, because I got my wrestling career taken away from me. I got to have something.
Yeah,
but yeah. So
I can tell from speaking with you and where you're at, you've got, you know, you're a whole wrestling life ahead of you. This is only just beginning. And, you know, when we're talking about tag team partners, you know, there's no way we're gonna carry on this conversation without talking about Bronwin.
yes.
So the reason me and you are speaking now is because Bronwyn Billington, daughter of the legendary Dynamite Kid and friend of the show, she's now your big wrestling buddy. How does that come about, this friendship you have with Bronwyn? And I mean, when she came on the show, she had nothing but good things to say about you.
Likewise, like that is so cool. I love her so much. She is a sweetheart. I tell her, I was like, you don't have to mention me. You don't have to bring me up. And she's like, no, I love you. And I'm just like, I love you too. Shoot. But yeah, so Bronwyn and we've been friends for like over a year now. Like we've known each other for a minute, and she's been a strong supporter and ally during my struggle with CRPS. And she definitely has supported me as I've dipped my toe back into wrestling. She's such a girl's girl. And when she and I have been talking, we talk about serious things such as CRPS and such as my sickness and what it was like being in the wheelchair. But also we talk about positive things in the future. And she knows I want to wrestle again. And she knows that valeting is a start. And then making appearances is a start. So we came up with this crazy idea that when I am blessed enough to wrestle again, she will valet me. And I am very excited to announce a few things that unfortunately I can't really announce just yet. But I literally if you would have interviewed me like in 2 weeks, like we could talk about it probably. But like some cool things, knock on wood, God willing, in November, a lot of cool things with Bronwyn and I are going to go down. And in the meantime, though, we were focused on trying to do different cons, because I've been booked out on, ever since I wanted to dip my toe back into wrestling, I've been booked at the different wrestle cons, you know, to make appearances, interact with fans, and get my name out there. And I was like, what a great idea to have Bronwyn. And if anyone should be booked, it should be her, the Dynamite Kid's daughter. Why am I booked? She should be booked, not me, you know? Like, I'm really realistic. I'm just I don't know. I don't know what I am, but she should be booked, you know?
You should both be booked. I think the thing with those cons, I mean, it kind of blew me away, WrestleCon, when I went to one. There's just so many talent, aren't there? You see it on paper and you think, oh, I'll go and see that person, I'll go and see that person. You have a plan. Then you go to a con and you're like, good grief. Like, I was just overwhelmed. Like, there are literally hundreds of people I want to meet. Not only do I not have enough dollars in my pocket, but I do not have enough time. And,
right. Well,
so
she deserves to get her name out there. Her and her mom. Like we've pitched Nathaniel and I both pitched the idea to her that she should really do like a travel museum of her father's stuff. And I think that's money. And I think that her traveling with her mom and her father's stuff would really like get over and get her name out there. And I truly believe in her and her career, and I wish her nothing but the best. But one of the things that we recently did was in Philly, when she got to induct her father. I got to be there, and that was actually the first time we were able to meet. And it was surreal. Like Nathaniel filmed it, but we it just, when you meet a twin flame, like someone that just vibes with you and someone that you already feel like you know, and I feel like you perhaps knew in a past lifetime, that's Bronwin and I. Like, we are sisters. We are truly twin flames. Like, she's the sister I always needed and wanted, and she's kept me alive actually this past year as I've dipped my toe back into wrestling, because battling the disease of CRPS and then dipping my toe back into wrestling, there's a love-hate situation there. I have such a passion for wrestling. I got to do this. This is what I want to do. But then there's also oh, you crippled me. You made me sick. You did this to me. And then the PTSD of just the whole accident and the trauma of the sickness. So being at these cons, as exciting as it is, and as baby steps as these are, it's been very hard on my mental health. So Bronwin is a true ally and supporter of my story, and I'm so blessed to have her in my life, and I can't wait to see her again very, very soon.
I think how you've described it there is fantastic, because you've been through real trauma, haven't you, with this, and I can understand that would damage your love affair to a degree with something that you've adored, because without wrestling this doesn't happen to you. But then without wrestling, what's your life? Because this is your love. It's like so many wrestlers who have unfortunately been injured in the ring or have suffered severe injuries as a result of their the knocks that they've taken, and things have happened years later.
And to add a pin in it on right there is, but at least they had a freaking career. I was robbed of my career. Can we get any more like twists and turns in this story? Like, could I not have at least had a career? Could I not have at least got out there and did something, even on the indie level? It's so cruel that I was willing to, not to sound so, I don't know, not to lift the curtain or anything, but I didn't sleep my way in the business. I didn't play the politics. I didn't go to the bars and strip clubs after these shows. I didn't know we were even getting paid. I did exactly what I was supposed to do. And just to be crippled and robbed of my career sucks. Sucks so badly, to be a wrestler that is unable to wrestle. Like, what is a wrestler that can't wrestle? And to battle CRPS organically, it really messed with my brain. Two things my doctor said to me when she saw me and realized what happened and who I was, like what was going on when I got diagnosed with CRPS. Two things, in better words than what I'm about to say, were said to me. How are you still alive? And also, how is your brain? I'm so worried for your brain, because CRPS, you're being tortured, actively tortured. So then if you've Googled it, but if you look up the treatments that we have, it quite literally is opioids and then a support team of therapy. That's it. There's experimental surgeries of people doing chips in their spine, but I'm not going to go and try to get paralyzed. There's experimental surgeries of people doing amputations. But then CRPS is a neurological condition, and you amputate your leg, but then you start feeling it in your arm. I had dreams about amputation, both positive and negative. I had dreams of my legs just being taken from me, and I woke up screaming in the middle of the night. But then I also had dreams of maybe I could find a doctor that would just take my legs, and then all the pain would go away. And that was before I knew I had CRPS. I told doctors this, and they still didn't name it. They didn't help me. because they didn't know. But as I mentioned before, I am doing this pitch to the Discovery Channel for a doc series, and it's starting out as my YouTube series. And the second episode actually is going to be this. And I'm going to be going to every single doctor that I saw in the past 7 years that misdiagnosed me, and I'm going to tell them about CRPS. And maybe some of them know about CRPS now. But my goal is to go and get a crystal and a rose, orange, which is CRPS colors. So then what I'm going to do is give them the rose because it's from my heart, and I'm telling them I forgive them. But then the rose will die. And I'm leaving the stone on their desk of CRPS colors, so then they'll never forget the lesson of telling someone about CRPS. Because even if they haven't seen another patient with CRPS, maybe they can tell other doctors about CRPS, or maybe in their past files they had a patient that had symptoms of CRPS and they can go and save them. That's what I'm going to do.
I think too often, I don't know if you have the same term in the US, but in the UK we have clinical overshadowing, where people where doctors may overlook. They see symptoms and they think, oh, this is so and so, this is so and so, because they go with the most obvious solution to a problem, and often people can be misdiagnosed because their symptoms.
To be fair, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, let's go off the list, but once the list ends, you don't abandon someone. You don't treat someone like they're not human. And the one thing I wish I didn't have to learn was the cruelty of humans during this time. And what I mean by that is you don't realize how disgusting the human race could be until you're put in a wheelchair and until you put on weight. And when I was in that wheelchair, I put on 100 pounds. I got fat as F. There you go, producers. Gotcha. No, I got fat. I couldn't walk. I couldn't stand. I'm laying in bed and I'm screaming in pain, and no one knows why I'm in so much pain. And I ended up, oh shit, sorry, I got brain fog right now. Shit, what was I saying? Shit. I got fat as fuck in the wheelchair, but no, what were we saying?
That was it. Yeah,
brain fog is a part of it, guys. I'm sorry.
It's all good. You gained a lot of weight, and you were bedbound mainly.
Yeah. So basically, I ended up. Well, there was a point, and I don't know, but yeah, I ended up organically losing the weight, learning how to walk again with no assistance of the medical field. Oh, you were talking about misdiagnosed. Yeah. But they just once they checked off the list, they're like, oh, well, we don't know what it is. And I was gaslit by the medical community into thinking that, oh, there's people dying of cancer. There's people with far worse pain than you. It's not that big of a deal. And it turns out to be the CRPS. And it's so.
And presumably, did you have to go through some of this during COVID as well? In terms of dealing with
okay, so there's another movie moment. So there I was, abandoned by the medical field, and at that time I had seen probably 10 doctors, and I was like, all right, I just got to do this myself. And without the assistance of even marijuana, I taught myself how to walk again. And mind you, I had an extra 100 pounds on me, and I'm on my disease is in my legs, in my feet. And I taught myself how to walk again without the aid of, like I said, marijuana, pills, or even the medical field, like going to a rehab. I had to go to the gym. I had to go and do this by myself. I had my friend Nathaniel, but I had to will myself into a gym still experiencing this pain as I sit, get up, cry and scream and get on a treadmill and try to force myself, even at the slowest speed, to stand and walk. I did that. And it's not like the movies where you play a song and then all of a sudden it's over.
A 3-minute montage, a Rocky montage.
Yeah, I wish, it was an entire year, but this is what I did. And I filmed it because I knew no one would believe this. But again, it took an entire year, but I would be at the gym. It started at like, I could only stand before I started vomiting from the pain. I could only stand 15, 30 minutes, but it started at 30 minutes. And by the end of the year, I'd be doing that for 10 hours.
Wow.
I would be in Planet Fitness for 10 hours. And I was treating it like, oh, my job. Since the doctors aren't going to fix me, I guess I'm going to be in pain the rest of my life. Well, I might as well, I have to work. I'm poor. I have to work a job. So I ended up teaching myself to build a tolerance for this weird pain I had. It's the worst pain I've ever felt. I didn't know it was the worst pain a human could feel, but it was the worst pain I ever felt. And I did it without marijuana or anything. And within a year, it took me to build a tolerance to build for my work shift. And what I would do is my friend would work the same job. So as he would go to work, I'd be like, okay, and I'd get off the phone with him and I'd start my shift. And for like 2 hours, I would walk it out. And the treadmill will stop like every 60 minutes or whatever. So I'd have to start it again. And it was so painful and disgusting. But after 2 hours, he would call me and be like, hey, it's time for a 15-minute break at work. So I would sit down, get in my bag, have a granola bar, have water and stuff, treat it like I was at work. And then it was time to go back to work. And I would do like another 2 hours on the treadmill, walking, just acting like I'm at work, standing. And then it was time for lunch. And then I had my lunch already packed. And by the time that the 10-hour shift was done, it took an entire year, and that's basically how I did it. And I filmed it because I knew no one would believe it. And it's not like, I was standing in the gym for 10 hours all year. It literally was the last month of me building a tolerance. And then what happened after that was I went back to my shoot job and I would work for 10 hours. But then the new goal was, after I would work at my shoot job for 10 hours, the new exciting goal was I need to learn how to build a tolerance to go to the gym next after work. So then I started building a tolerance. I've been on my feet for 10 hours. Now I need to learn how to do a 30-minute workout or an hour workout. And then that's what I did. And then after I built all this tolerance, I was diagnosed with CRPS. Oh. And also COVID. Wait. Before I was diagnosed with it. Oh no. So I taught myself how to walk again. It took an entire year to learn how to walk again. And it's so painful, and I still have a lot of the weight on me. And I'm like, man, this sucks. And it's like, let me go back to my shoot job now. COVID-19 happened. And I had to work all throughout the pandemic. And I ended up getting it. But I live a movie. Like, if you put all this in chronicle order, you're going to be like, this is insane. Like, and I wish, I hope this is the last insane thing to happen to me.
Well, I want to plug this. You've been talking about this YouTube series you're working on. Hopefully it leads to a bigger documentary.
Yeah.
Where can my audience find the content currently that you're talking about? So these videos that you've shot so far.
Right. Okay. So right now, guys, just follow me on Instagram and follow me on TikTok. It's under Paige Collett, Black Dahlia, Chainsaw Queen. But you guys, pretty soon it's going to be, I created a YouTube, but I don't think I've even posted on it yet. But that's where the full episode, the teaser, you can see the updates on my Instagram and on my TikTok, and then you'll be seeing the teasers on those. But hopefully the first episode will be out within the next 2 weeks.
Awesome. So in the show notes of this episode, I'm going to put your YouTube channel. So by the time this episode goes out, let's drop some content on YouTube and get some videos and some views on there. I think that's the way to go.
Okay. Yeah.
So what I want to ask to kind of round up, you mentioned there's some stuff coming that you can't talk about just yet, but obviously, you know, where is your health? You know, how's your health these days? And you know, I really hope we can record again in a year, 18 months time and kind of see where your journey's gone. You know, if we were talking in early 2026, where's Paige Collett going to be? Where do you want to be?
Good question. Yeah. So my health, unfortunately, I'm not in remission yet, and a lot of cool things I can talk about. I'm doing Scarefest in October, which is a huge horror fest, and it's like the first or second biggest horror con in America, and I'm actually booked on it.
That's cool.
That's big, and it's blurred in the background, but I have the Excalibur, and it's actually the golden chainsaw from part 3. And I every year have been going to Scarefest as the entourage of the actor R.A. Mahaf, who played Leatherface in part 3 and wielded this chainsaw.
Wow.
But he uses the chainsaw for all of his photo shoots, right? For like 3 years in a row. And being his entourage is so cool, but this year I'm booked. So, I'll be like, hey, I get to sit next to you now.
That's really cool.
But okay, so guys, you'll see me at Scarefest, and there's one thing I can't announce about it, but once I have my lunch with the president of the company, then I can announce it. But look on my Instagram. But I mean, come on, guys, I'm there as an actor and model, but obviously I'm known for why I'm on this podcast, so it's not hard to kind of guess what might happen there, but that's never happened before, but probably will. But can't announce that part, but you'll see me at Scarefest possibly doing more than signing autographs.
Okay, well, watch your space. But I got one more question in a second. But firstly, I just want to kind of say to everyone, Paige has mentioned her social media channels. She's a fantastic follow. Great content, so please do follow Paige, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever it may be. X, if you still use X, some of us still do. Even better, take a screenshot of this episode and let me and Paige know what you thought of today's conversation. I'm sure it stirred up a lot of emotions. I'm sure some of it's been maybe a bit tough, a bit triggering to listen to, hopefully really inspiring. So drop us both a line, let us know what you think. I always end off episodes, Paige, with thanking my producer, Jeff Easton. We talked about him before you started when you were in the green room.
Please don't hate me, Jeff. Jeff
has the task
please.
now of making this a PG-13 episode and getting rid of all your cussing. So,
well, listen, sir. Even as a PG-13 episode, it could have been extremely rated R. So, I mean, I did try.
You have been tame, Paige. In fact, I'm thankful, and I'm thankful to everyone for joining us today.
You tamed the Black Dahlia.
Yes, there you go. There you go. And look, anyone who's joined us today, if you're not already subscribed to the show, please do subscribe, because there's a lot of wrestling podcasts out there, but we're trying to do something a bit different here, which is actual positive conversations against all the negativity in the wrestling world. So subscribe on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you can find us. Get involved. The last question I've got for you, Paige, you've covered a lot of stuff here today, but I'm sure there's a lot of transferable learnings to other people. Are there any words of advice or encouragement that you can give to anyone who either finds himself facing a health scare or what seems to be an insurmountable obstacle in life?
Right. I love your questions. You're so good. I'm not just gassing you up. You're genuinely good. And I'll talk to you off camera about it, but you really are.
Thank you.
So, yeah. So, guys, life it is what it is. You're going to hit bumps in the road. And if you end up unfortunate, like I have been, and you end up extremely sick, I've been through therapy, and it's best to seek help, even if you're not wanting to self-harm. going through something traumatic as a diagnosis of an illness, let alone even as traumatic as an injury or being disabled, like I highly suggest seeing a therapist and getting a support team, because that is your true happiness. And you are so much more than the label that you're given at that office. You're so much more than your sickness. You are human and you're valid and you are allowed to be upset. There are, I think it's like 5 or 7 stages of grieving, and I still go through it. Even after my diagnosis, I am still going through my grieving stage of the idea of my past life that could have been, like my healthy body and what my life could have been without being sick. You're allowed to resent your sick body, but then also you need to learn to love yourself. So my advice to anyone that's just going through it is you don't have to go through it alone. And you're so much more than your condition. Find happiness. Find what makes you happy. Live your life. Don't focus on the negative. The negative happens. Life sucks. But if you focus on the happiness, then your life gets better. And I truly hope that all of you have a low pain day and that we all find a cure for all of our sicknesses. And I hope that everyone follows along and watches my journey, Wrestling with CRPS. It's such a pun, such a metaphor, but it's true. I am a wrestler with CRPS, and I'm actively wrestling and battling CRPS. And I hope you guys could be inspired by my story and follow along. And hopefully you'll see me wrestle again.
Well, before I start crying over here, I think it's time to wrap it up. So look, thank you so much, Paige, for being so honest and open, inspiring. And as I say, you've got an open invite to come around for round 2 to talk about the next stage of your journey. So I'm excited to see what you announce later this year, and let's keep talking.
Well, this was, like I said earlier, like Lord of the Rings. So this was just the story of the Fellowship of the Rings. And we know we got so many other episodes to have. And I think they're going to be more entertaining. Absolutely.
Well, look, everyone, until next time, this has been Wrestling Life with Ben Veal, your place for real talk from real talent. My guest has been Paige Collett, the Black Dahlia, Chainsaw Queen, Wrestling with CRPS. Thank you so much for joining me. And to everyone that's been here today, be good to each other. And I'll see you all again very soon. Bye.
Bye.